it is literally spitting into the ocean with all of the other coverage about everything else.
I mean, this is currently moving Trump voters 5 to 6 points, which is nuts at this stage in the cycle.
Welcome to another episode of Campaign Experts React, where we break down 2020 election ads and political media, explain what the people behind them are trying to accomplish, and decide whether or not they did a good job. I'm Dan Pfeiffer, former communications director for Barack Obama. Joining me today are Liz Jaff and Sean McElwee. Liz is the president of the Be a Hero PAC, and Sean is the co-founder of the progressive think tank Data for Progress.
I just want to be clear that I did tell Sean I was going to make fun of him if he wore his Patagonia hat, so...
Okay, you should feel free to do that.
Why? Patagonia's progressive.
The first video we're going to watch is a clip that Trump released after returning to the White House from the hospital with COVID. Because my producers told me that if we put the dumbest, most rage-inducing things first, people will stay and watch the whole video. Not sure what that says about them or America, but here we go.
Dan, I think this ad is the day Trump finally became president. I'm joking. You've talked before on the show about the dissonance between the earned media and the paid media, and you tend to want to have the earned media and the paid media moving in the right direction. I think you have this sort of dissonance between the paid media that is designed to show presidential with the sort of earned media that is like very unpresidential. And if you're only presidential in your paid media, you're in a bad spot, because at the end of the day, paid media is very important, but it is only one portion of what your audience, the voters, are seeing about your campaign. I think we've seen that successful presidential campaigns really have a theme that they stick to, not for a week, but for the entirety of the campaign. Biden's campaign, we know what it is. It's like, we're going to bring the nation together. And he's continued with that theme. Whereas Trump, every week, they're saying that there's a new angle. Like 1 week, we're going to do dog whistle suburban strategy. The next week, we're going to be, Trump is presidential. But I think the fact that he has gone through 7 different visions of what his re-election campaign is supposed to look like is telling that this is not a campaign that is going in the right direction.
If you saw nothing else, this is potentially somewhat effective for him, but it is literally spitting into the ocean with all of the other coverage about everything else. And I think this is primarily a piece of propaganda for his supporters, who have put him on this pedestal. They treat him as this sort of authoritarian strongman who is invincible, can defeat the fake media, a man who wouldn't want a president who could take on Jim Acosta? He may seem sick, he may have this, but he can still walk, I guess.
It's all kind of like propaganda bullshit, right? It's like the trappings of the president. I'm at the White House. Like, if you're not checked in, he does look presidential. He does look responsible. I'm furious that our taxpayer dollars are paying for it. I get why they did it, but I still think he looks tiny. I don't think he looks strong.
As someone who had to navigate the White House lawyers about what you could put on the White House Twitter account, this is so far beyond the pale of anything. We basically had to stop in 2012 even doing a lot of the most basic stuff because it was fears there would be an FEC violation.
Well, the rules are off the table. Obviously, you can do whatever the fuck you want if you're at the White House now, so.
All right, the next ad we're going to look at is a climate change spot from the Biden campaign.
There's a great deal of uncertainty in being a farmer. We're having more challenges in touch areas than ever before. As I think about my grandchildren and the world we live in, I think it's very important to adopt measures to mitigate climate change. I'm John King. I'm from Central Lake, Michigan, and I'm a fruit farmer. For many years, Michigan has been a great location for growing fruit.
We're really proud to be cherry farmers. If we are unable to do that based on the climate, it would really strip away what is so unique about this area.
I've found the same passion that my dad has for growing plants, and I really hope that my son finds this same passion.
How's it taste, Lincoln?
Good.
I feel very strongly that we need to take action now on climate change. We need leadership to address the problems we're facing every day so that we can continue to produce food for Americans in the whole world.
I'm Joe Biden.
and I approve this message.
You know, Sean, you have spent a lot of time talking about the political importance of Joe Biden and Democrats talking about climate change. What do you think of this spot?
I think this fits in the sort of the opposite of what we saw with the Trump ad, which is it's very thematic with the Biden campaign. The sort of Biden thesis is if you voted for Trump and you got on this train and you're not liking how disorganized and disordered and unpleasant it is, get off the train. And I think that you see him actually taking that theme of the sort of entire campaign and tying it into climate change. I think that at the end of the day, just talking about the issue of climate is a big step. And it's not something we've seen a lot from campaigns. And what we found is that people who voted for Trump in the past and who are most sort of on the fence about him now, climate is actually a pretty high issue. We've tended to think of climate as an issue of how we get out the Democratic base, but it's important to remember that a lot of persuadable voters are actually young people who have conservative views, but really, really dislike Trump. So those young independents, young Republicans are up for grabs, and climate is a big issue for them. And I think that this ad is something that's going to hit the sort of core issue for people, which is agriculture.
I also think it's a good time with the debate. You know, Trump really tried to push Biden to denounce climate change, to specifically say, I'm not for the Green New Deal. And I think what was really helpful in that moment is he's like, look, you know, I'm for climate change. I'm introducing climate change. And you saw all that support that came out from Markey and AOC after the debate being like, look, I'm for the Green New Deal, but I'm still for Biden. I think this is an ad that helps say, listen, we're still here. He's talking about climate change. This is positive messaging. It's hopeful for younger people. It's obviously not like the drastic movement we're looking for, but what it is absolutely the right direction. I think it went really well. Like, I don't think that Trump's hit hurt. Right? I don't think people see Biden as like the radical Green New Deal, but I also don't think he lost those supporters.
Also really notable that he did it in Michigan, in the home of the U.S. auto industry. For all my time in politics, the idea was you would never in a million years talk about climate change in Michigan. And it's what scared a lot of candidates going back to Al Gore in 2000 from ever talking about this issue. And it matters in this election for all the reasons you guys say, but it's also important that if we're going to be able to do something on climate change with a hopefully with a Biden presidency and a Democratic Senate, we have to talk about it, right? If you want to, you have to build political will to do it. And part of building political will is not just scaring the living crap out of people, it's creating a persuasive, normalized message around an issue that people care about, like agriculture. The most extreme stories often turn people off, or they're less persuasive because it doesn't feel connected to your life. And so if you can't make climate work in the Midwest, you're never going to get something through the Senate. So I think this is very good. I'm very glad they did it. As regular viewers of this absurd YouTube series may know, I am in grave danger of being replaced by some very smart, much younger strategists from the quote-unquote radical left. They did a takeover episode. And before they start measuring the drapes in this Zoom, let me read some of the comments from our loyal viewers. I miss Dan. Great to see their views, but I do miss Dan. I'm sad because I was really looking forward to Dan talking about Get Your Booty to the Polls. Jeremy, you clearly don't know me because there's not a chance in hell I was going to do that. I miss Dan. His uncomfortableness with being on camera is like 60% of the fun of these videos. That is fair, and that is not going to change. Michael Tarr says, oh my God, that's Elijah. He's really real. The hairy, I'm not going to read that. That is disgusting. Thank you, everyone, for your support in my time of need, as you were literally watching me be put out the pasture by Elijah and Yale for fellow Zoomers. Please, everyone, you know what you should do. Don't make me say it. Do something with the subscribe button, and please do it soon. All right, the last ad we're going to look at is one you guys worked on from Be a Hero PAC.
4 years ago I was diagnosed with the fatal disease ALS. Sick people like me should be spending our precious time with the people we love, not fighting with Big Pharma to pay for the medicine we need to live. In this pandemic, senators should be fighting to protect patients, but Joni Ernst decided to take Big Pharma's money instead. Time is running out. Americans need free coronavirus treatments, not more pharma monopolies on drugs.
Be a Hero PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
What I love about these ads is we partnered with Data for Progress, and it was all about like what is the most important issue right now to folks, and it's about free COVID treatment, which is so relevant right now, right, with Trump getting free COVID treatment, the Republican super spreader event. And the best message testing was we need this to be free, and it pushes with what Biden's talking about, which is connecting with real people, which Trump can't do. I mean, this is currently moving Trump voters 5 to 6 points, which is nuts at this stage in the cycle. I'm very proud of it. It's very emotional because Ady's lost his voice, But the fact also that you can have an ad with somebody's computer voice move folks is a little nuts.
And where is the ad running?
We made 4 of these ads. We've now made 5. We just made a Lindsey Graham one. But it's North Carolina, Iowa, Maine, Arizona, and South Carolina. And this ad is testing gangbusters in each of these spaces. What's really interesting, though, is it goes back, Dan, to your point, where a lot of times in testing, we saw really unique stories not connecting. We're not speaking about Ady's ALS in this. We're just speaking about the fact that he has to fight with the pharma companies. And I think that neutralizes it and it connects it, right? As a father, when you see Carl on his lap, you're connecting with it. So I think the second thing with this ad, which I think for progressives, specifically Sean and I have been talking about, which is really powerful, is we need to get more aggressive on big pharma. And one of the things we wanted to show, specifically to moderate Democrats, is that everybody likes this messaging. Like, they can go further on it. And I think that's also, to be honest with you, the message to the Biden campaign, right? Like, he's on the right track with this, but Biden could really slam down pharma on this and big patents, and he would do incredibly well.
Sean, can you talk a little bit about the underlying data about why this ad is so effective?
Gallup actually does an annual sort of review of the popularity of different industries. We've consistently seen the pharmaceutical industry is viewed by voters as the least popular. We saw that monopoly pricing has been a sort of consistent theme in our testing that works really well when we're talking about drug prices. The fact that these companies have this sort of monopoly pricing, again, going back to the earned media, people are starting to see a lot of stories about this and starting to engage with that. But the last thing we did was we actually went into the field, and the number one testing thing that said people were more likely to vote for a candidate was free coronavirus treatment and testing. And so we designed an ad that sort of put all of those things together, as well as tying Republicans to the very unpopular high prescription drug costs.
It can be that ads that we like are highly effective, but it is not a guarantee that ads that we like are highly effective. And sometimes it's the opposite. We sort of talk about this as the Lincoln Project phenomenon on this show, which is the ads that make partisans on Twitter super excited are oftentimes ones that are completely disconnected from the concerns of persuadable voters around the country, who have much more conflicted opinions about Trump, certainly, than we do. One piece of anecdotal evidence that this is powerful is that the pharmaceutical industry is the one industry that Trump actually attacks. He goes back and forth, obviously, but he has spent a whole bunch of time talking about how Pharma has been running ads against him and trying to stop him from doing his pretty bad drug pricing plans. If there is an industry that is so unpopular that we want to attack it and Trump is willing to attack it, that's a sign that it is incredibly powerful. But I am very glad to see that my initial instinct in watching it that I thought it was powerful is buttressed by the data. And I think it's very exciting that you have this ad up in Senate races, because it's easy for a lot of people to forget that if we don't take the Senate, everything that we've been talking about in this race will not pass. And I'm so grateful to Ady for all of his incredibly inspirational leadership over the last few years in the fight for healthcare. Also, share these ads with people in your network, even if they're not in the states where they're running, because this is a huge issue, and it will actually, I think it actually has impact even beyond whether you have the privilege of voting against Joni Ernst or Tom Tillis or Jamie Harrison or the rest of them. Just the idea that Democrats are on the right side of this issue is going to help up and down the ballot. So thank you guys both so much for doing this. It was very fun to talk to you, and I'm very glad that you have these ads on the air and you're doing the work you're doing.
Thanks so much, Dan.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching these ads and videos with us. If you have anything you'd like us to break down, please leave it in the comments. See you all next time.